Hi there, welcome to I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Virgo energy. And we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives because it's a general reading and everybody's kind of at different stages of life. We all have our more worldly, shadowy energy, which can be our pride, ego, fear, insecurity, laziness, self-centeredness, self-indulgent nature, immature nature, etc. And some people are kind of still in those energies. So when we read the story that comes out, we're going to see maybe more of the decisions that they'd be making in their life. And other people have tempered some levels of their more worldly nature to be more balanced, to be more self-insightful, grow up, mature themselves, treat other people the way they like to be treated, have learned how to be loving and appreciate love and treat other people with love and respect and treat other people the way they like to treat them. And those people will be handling this energy differently. And, we all tap into Virgo energy, which can be, like all the other zodiac signs, we're either more aligned with our more worldly, egoic, or defensive nature, or we're aligned with our more hopeful, believing, loving nature. And sometimes we can be in more mismatched relationships, and a lot of times it doesn't really matter because we all know all sorts of people, and it really doesn't matter. You do you and I'll do me, and sometimes we can all get along because everybody respects that everybody has their own way of living life. More of the problem, which is probably what drives people to tarot, is that when it's a close friend or a romantic relationship or someone we really wanted to move forward with and we hoped we were going to stay on the same page, and then when it seems like we're not on the same page anymore, that's hard to deal with. So I kind of view these two cards as the overarching reason for the reading. We have the Seven of Cups and the Devil. We can be more caught up in the world. The Devil can represent the world. Capricorn energy, Pisces energy. We're kind of caught. Oh no, this is actually Scorpio energy. We could be, some people are more emotionally shallow and superficial than other people. Other people want to keep their options open. Maybe can't make decisions in their life. And other people want more deep, meaningful relationships, but, then the Devil can represent that you got to face your fears. And at the end of the reading, we have the Three of Swords, which is Libra energy, represented by the scales of justice, that everybody's probably going to take action based on what they think is just and fair. And, the Devil can just mean, we either are going to repeat an old pattern because the truth sets us free. We go through these phases of life to learn these lessons in life. And if we haven't learned some lesson, we'll go repeat an old pattern and we'll probably end up heartbroken. And there's no guarantee as we move forward. There's always going to be shadowy energy in the world. And we all have our own shadowy nature, which is what the Devil can represent. Are we willing to see through the illusion and stay focused on truth and love and justice and fairness? Are the people that we're in relationship with willing to do that or not? Anybody can be tempted at any time to kind of make decisions more out of fear and insecurity and pride and ego and immaturity and are we willing to deal with the truth of it when we see it? Or do we want to stay kind of in denial of the truth? So we start out with the Moon card, and the reason that came out is the Ace of Swords, that, hopefully we've learned to listen to our intuition is what the Moon card can talk about. And in hope and faith and belief in truth and justice and fairness and believing in our dreams, we listen to love and intuition to guide us, And other people, they might not want to do love anyway. They might not, you can get hurt doing love. And some people, that's the biggest thing. I don't want to get hurt, so I might hide my truth. I might not be authentic in the relationship. I might try to confuse people about the truth of who I am because I want to have new beginnings and get in relationships too, but I might not want people to know that my truth could be that I have decided to maybe live more from my mind than my heart. And I do kind of emotionally invest more in my fear or my defensive nature. And some people are going to get in some type of relationship with them, work, friendship, or otherwise. And along the journey of that relationship, some people are going to eventually kind of realize the truth. But the moon can talk about that, we can't see everything clearly, the way I read tarot is the feminine figures can talk about how we think and how we feel. The masculine figures can represent how we are taking action in the world and how we present ourselves. The Seven of Pentacles or the Seven of Cups could be that people have options, and the Devil could be that people could be charming, attractive, have stability or security in their life, be charming, whatever it is. It's those things that kind of draw us and attract us to people. And I think subconsciously what the moon can represent, we can be drawn and attracted to certain people because there might be things that are kind of buried beneath the surface, like past pain and heartbreak and self-limiting beliefs. And we'll kind of be drawn and attracted to certain people to help free us, to help us work through some emotional confusion and the Devil, some of our fears and our insecurities, and kind of maybe work through some of the things that we might not realize kind of drive and motivate us, of like why we get in certain friendships and relationships, why we kind of do what we do. And the whole thing of the Devil coming into our life is to get us to see the truth. The Three of Swords comes after the Two of Swords. And for one, in the Two of Swords, we might not want to see the truth that everybody has free will. And people are aligned with their more hopeful, believing, loving nature, or they're not. But the more loving and hopeful and believing you are, the more harder it can be to accept that other people really are kind of more about themselves, these things of the world, their ego, their image, because you think everybody would be motivated and inspired by love. Who wouldn't want that? But there's some people somewhere along the road in life decided, maybe because they got hurt, and they could have dealt with people that were bossy or controlling or hurtful and unkind, and maybe those people seemed to get what they wanted in the world, and they decided, you know what? Those people could hurt me because I had more hope and faith and belief in them. And then they could have decided, you know what? If you're a hopeful, believing, loving person, you get manipulated by people. And so I'm not going to be one of the people who gets manipulated. I'm going to be one of the people who manipulates loving people. And, somewhere along the way, people made these free will choices. And some people are just more superficial and shallow, and they are more about themselves and make these things of the world, their ego, their image, being about themselves, is their idea of living the dream life. And that's just how they view life. And it can be very hard to accept that some people are more like that. But that's us seeing through the illusion that everyone either does this work to free themselves from their more self-centered, immature, worldly more nature, to be motivated and inspired by love. That does take work and effort. It's not easy to want to deal with the truth of our own shadowy nature. And because of it, some people will be like, nope, I'm going to stay in denial of the truth. So some people are hiding the truth of who they are, hiding the truth of what drives and motivates them. And other people in our life are people who are also more hopeful and believing in love, who listen to their intuition. And, we're moving forward with all these different people in our workplace, in our family, in our community, right? Then we have a card not showing itself. And the reason that came out is because of the Tower, is that sometimes we can get in situations, and then as time goes by, we don't realize that we harness this energy differently with some people. And that can really be, the Tower can talk about that. It's kind of shocking and surprising that, like, at a core foundational level of kind of what drives and motivates someone, you kind of see the truth of it. Or you just see that they're kind of unstable, ungrounded, immature, all those kind of things, right? The Three of Pentacles, Capricorn energy. And the Devil is also Capricorn energy. So, have we done work and effort to free ourselves from being more about ourselves, more self-indulgent, more immature, whatever? Or have we not? And for some people who already listen to their intuition because of a life experience they've had with people, they cut out the people in their life that they knew that in their more Capricorn view of life, they were more motivated and inspired by the things of the world, the ego, the image, looking like a shining star in the world or whatever. And they detach from those people because that isn't why they want to stay in a job or a friendship or relationship. They want to be in relationships with people who, in the Ace of Wands and the Queen of Cups, are inspired by love. And they saw the truth that some people don't work with them cooperatively from truth and love. It's more for these other reasons. And they listened to their intuition, had hope and faith and belief to face their fears, to deal with the truth, and I'm not going to keep working with those people. And some people already let go of some people like that in their life. Some people are right now letting go of some people in their life who are like that. Because they saw, Capricorn energy also can kind of represent what we view as victorious and successful in life. Some people think it's having a balanced life, being just and fair, treating other people the way you like to be treated, growing and maturing yourself, because I view high vibe Capricorn, I view Capricorn as the King of Pentacles, but you can present yourself as like a stable, grounded, emotionally mature person that people should want to go into business with, hire, or marry, but that's really not the truth of who they are. And, some people could have a lot of things or look a certain way or have a certain status or clout or whatever in the world, but they kind of lack substance, or they're very unstable, or they're very immature or something like that, or they got a lot of issues that manipulate them. And they maybe always want to try to hide the truth, but the truth eventually comes to light. But that's us kind of in our pride and ego. No, 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 no. I don't have to deal with these things. I can create this illusion. I'll use my looks or my money or my charm or my sexuality or whatever to try to manipulate people. That's the devil trying to manipulate people. Tempt them to ignore the truth, and move forward with me in a relationship anyway. And people who are in kind of more shadowy energy, there's always going to be other people in the world that's their truth too. And they may have things they could be hiding that they're more about the world also. Or that they're unstable, or they're more immature, or they're more superficial and shallow, or materialistic, right? We're going to kind of summarize this again as we come back. But if people are in relationships with people who they think are on the same page as them, high vibe, low vibe, whatever, they're probably going to move forward with those people because they both are emotionally inspired by the same things. And I view the Queen of Cups as Scorpio energy, which is fixed sign energy. And some people, I want to keep repeating an old pattern. I don't want to see the truth. I don't want to face my fears. I don't want to do life differently. I want to keep repeating this pattern. So in a shadowy Capricorn energy, they don't want to free themselves from a pattern, because we'll all repeat certain patterns until we're willing to deal with the truth or learn the lesson we're meant to learn. And some people are like, I don't want to do my life any differently. Nothing needs to change. I like this emotionally. this is how I like to live my life. I might not want to grow and mature myself. I might not want to deal with my past pain and heartbreak. If I can find someone who wants to live their life and they don't want to do that either, well, that would be a just and fair relationship. They're on the same page. They could be a little heartbroken that they're not willing to face their fears or ever step out of their comfort zone or carry around the issues within themselves that they carry around, but that's their free will choice. And other people are like, I kind of listen to my intuition when I've kind of lived my life at a certain phase of life. And then it can kind of get confusing. And here we have the Two of Swords, which can feel like I kind of feel stuck. You know, we go through these phases of life and then we kind of learn what we need to learn, see what works, see what doesn't work. And we're kind of inspired out of love for ourselves that I don't want to keep staying stuck, and I don't want to keep staying heartbroken, and I don't want to keep staying confused, and I don't want to feel like my fear or my insecurity or my immature nature or my lust or my greed or other people in my life are manipulating me. And they kind of get inspired to do this work within themselves to free themselves in the tower to get to the truth to deal with those issues. And that's High Vibe Virgo. I'm going to do this inner work to figure out why I do what I do. See the truth about not staying in denial by why some people do what they do. And if I view them as someone who I admire, who's bold and brave and confident, then why am I not doing that? And I'm going to be inspired to listen to my intuition to maybe look at those things I keep buried beneath the surface. And maybe take time out from maybe working with other people, because Virgo energy of the hermit, of introspection, can be where you do take time alone. I'm going to kind of work on me. And if I've been hiding the truth that I feel unstable, and maybe in my Capricorn energy, I don't feel, which is Earth sign energy, that maybe I don't feel very, again, stable or grounded or confident within myself. Why don't I? And so then they get inspired to offer themselves love to work through the fact that in the Two of Swords, I have free will. I can live my life like this, or I can live my life like that. I can sit in these thoughts and emotions, or I can sit in these thoughts and emotions. I can hang out with these people, those people. I can do this, I can do that. Why do I do what I do? What do I love? What makes me feel inspired? Which ones make me feel more sad and confused and unstable? Why do I invest my time, energy, and effort into ways of thinking or believing or people that make me feel more unstable, ungrounded? Why don't I love myself to get more balanced within myself and maybe listen more to my intuition and my more loving nature? And from the Queen of Cups would typically hold one cup, which would be a cup of love. And then we go to the Seven of Cups. In between the one cup and the Seven of Cups is the Six of Cups. And the Six of Cups can be about getting balance within yourself emotionally. It can also talk about the past, reconciling yourself emotionally with some issues from your past. And, you know, maybe there was other people in our life that we thought would be more just and fair or loving. And maybe those people didn't want to work together with us more cooperatively or keep working with us, and that could have been really a challenging, difficult time in the tower where, you know, it can kind of make you kind of wonder if you want to listen to your intuition anymore. But again, if we look at it, that we're drawn and attracted to certain people because we do have lessons learned from them. And it could, you know, it's all about trying to help us get more clear about our truth and what our truth is. And can we love people, and can we be attracted to people, and can we wish them the best? Yes. Could they kind of have some love for us and be attracted to us? Yes. Do they wish us the best? Some yes, some no. If you are more stable and grounded and balanced within yourself, sometimes you can be in relationships with some people who aren't very stable and grounded within themselves. And then they can kind of do some hurtful things, maybe to try to destabilize you and stop you from loving and believing in yourself, and kind of have you more confused. And maybe, the devil can be that you're just in your ego, you're more in fear, insecurity, or it flares up your competitive nature or your codependent nature. And some people like being in relationships with people who are in that energy. And sometimes we were in that energy to some degree when we got in a relationship. We could have been heartbroken when we got in a different relationship. And then if during the course of that friendship or relationship, we started to do some of this work to work through some of those issues from our past, well, then sometimes the other people we're in a relationship with don't like that because you're not the same person. You the tower can be that you detached from a way of living life and viewing life, and you might have been more caught up in the world or these things you indulged in or them. And now you might be more aligned with your hopeful, believing, loving nature and maybe want a more deep, meaningful relationship. And they're like, oh, wait a minute, I liked it when you were in this energy. And that's when they can sometimes do some hurtful and unkind things to try to get you back into a more shadowy energy. And then, it's confusing and it's emotionally confusing. These people who we thought, were more just and fair, and maybe people who we thought were more grounded or stable or loving, they seem to be doing these things that don't seem to be. And then, we have the free will choice. Am I going to kind of keep investing in someone who I think is kind of being maybe more manipulative or more about themselves, or they want me to stay in it more for these things of the world, but they don't really want to do love? In a regular, like, Rider-Waite tarot deck, the devil card looks just like the lover's card, except it has chains and shackles on the people. And high vibe and high vibe energy is about being more independent, knowing your worth and value, respecting other people as their own individuals, and that they have their own unique talent, skills, interests, and dreams. And that if we're going to get in a relationship with someone, it should be like in the Three of Pentacles. You have your truth and you have your dreams and aspirations and motivations. I'm my own individual. I have my own dreams and aspirations. And that together with the third pentacle being truth and love, we work together. But sometimes that's not the foundation that some people are working from. Well, no, I kind of think it should be more about me or more about these things of the world. And that's their truth. And then we kind of realize what drives and motivates us is different. Maybe what our long-term goals are. Everybody might want to look like a King of Pentacles in the world, male or female. But for some people, it's more about having these things of the world, not necessarily growing and healing and maturing themselves. And other people are kind of motivated to grow and heal and mature themselves. And I don't like the world manipulating me. And I don't like my past pain and heartbreak manipulating me. And I don't like my own emotions and my thoughts and everything manipulating me. And I don't like people that I might have love for trying to manipulate me. People who love you don't try to manipulate you and control you or destabilize you or intimidate you. So then we have this card here that's not showing itself. The Page of Pentacles. So the Page of Pentacles can represent all three of the earth signs, your Virgo, your Taurus, and your Capricorn energy. And we all have our earth sign traits and characteristics. Taurus can be what our philosophy of life is and how we view the world, how we view others, how we view relationships, what we kind of, again, think is just and fair. And Capricorn, what we view as maybe victorious and successful, and what we want to invest our time, energy, and effort into, along with Virgo, what we want to invest our time, energy, and effort into, and what our long-term goals are. And we could realize that in our earth sign aspect of self, some people, all three in their earth sign energy, is more hopeful and believing, is what the pages can represent. I have hope and faith and belief in love. And high vibe Scorpio is I am this emotionally complex human being, and so are other people. And I want to explore the mysteries of life, of myself emotionally, which means I kind of want to go on the roller coaster of life emotionally. I know there'll be highs and lows, and I know not everything I go pursue is going to work out for me. But otherwise, I just ride the merry-go-round. And yeah, it doesn't have the highs and the lows, but it also could be me staying in my comfort zone. Well, I don't want to get hurt. Well, I don't want to listen to my intuition. Because our intuition, I believe, was given to us as a gift to help us navigate in this world, to listen to our intuition when people are being kind of shadowy and manipulative and dealing with the truth. And I think our intuition is kind of that voice we have in our head when we're out and we're maybe thinking of doing something, and that's like when that voice is in our head saying, you should go home. This is not a good idea. This is not going to turn out the way you think. But, we all got lessons to learn, so we went and did it anyway. And then it probably didn't work out the way we wanted. And we were heartbroken. And so then we have lessons to learn about listening to our more creative, inspired, intuitive, loving nature. And then we also have lessons to learn about kind of standing up for and defending our own more hopeful, believing, authentic, loving nature from other people in the world that are more shadowy. So then we learn to start listening to our intuition, which is also what the Two of Swords can talk about. I know that from life experience that there's more immature people, bossy people, self-centered people, manipulative people. And out of love for myself, I need to start listening to my intuition. And then in the Seven of Cups, I kind of view the sevens as kind of the tipping into one way or the other, because there's 12 zodiac signs, and we're either our more hopeful, believing, loving nature and intuitive nature and balanced nature is in the driver's seat of our life, or we're kind of a little more tipped in favor still of our more worldly nature, and I kind of want to go do what I want to go do. And that's okay. I have a key on either mirror of the scales of justice. We're going to learn lessons either way. And we have a lot of lessons to learn. And we do have to face our fears. And, there's no guarantees. And it's knowing that, believing I can pick myself up. And if things don't work out the way I want, or it doesn't seem just and fair and all those things, I believe I'm willing to deal with the truth. I'm going to have hope and faith and belief in love. I'm not going to align with, since that card wasn't showing itself, on one hand, I'm going to reject my more immature worldly nature to align with my more hopeful believing nature, but it has to be just and fair and balanced and from truth and love. So I'm going to be careful of who I invest in emotionally. And if there's people in my environment who my intuition is telling me is damn, the devil card can be again that you're attracted to people, but it's my intuition is telling me that, you're trying to more tempt me in my codependent nature, manipulate my loving nature, try to make me tell myself that this is just and fair when there's a part of me that's telling me this isn't just and fair, or you're not being truthful, and then that can be hard, right? So then we have another card not showing itself, which is the Death card. So the Death card, like I view the Queen of Cups, is Scorpio energy. If we're more inspired by love, if we want to have a dream come into reality, we have to be in relationships with other people who are more motivated and inspired by love. But some people in their Scorpio energy, maybe they just haven't decided yet if they want to do love, and then the devil can be they'd like to be in a relationship, kind of like indulge in a relationship. But the truth is, they still haven't decided maybe if they want to do love. Or they know, or as time goes by in a relationship, because we can all we get in relationships with people. It's for both of us to get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. And everybody could have had hope and faith and belief that they'd be more open to love and be more just and fair and not be more immature or more about themselves or tempted by whatever. But then as time goes by, you know, kind of God knows the truth of people's hearts. And if God knows that you're ready to have this new beginning, is what the Page of Pentacles can be, and that you're more willing to be a student of life, not operating more from your ego, willing to learn lessons in life, get out of your ego to be willing to learn lessons, that you're more aligned with your hopeful, believing nature. You put in work and effort to overcome your kind of self-limiting beliefs and your fears and your insecurities, and God knows that person isn't. Well, the universe, the moon, can talk about forces in the world that go on behind the scenes in a bigger picture than we realize. Lo and behold, those people will have something come into their life that will to make them make a decision. And you also could play the devil in their life, because the devil can be things that challenge our belief system. And we can be no, I think I want to be more about myself. No, I think I want to make my life about these things. No, I don't think I want to do love. And if you're a loving, nurturing, supportive person, you kind of represent the competition, which in their mind is the opposing team. So you're like the devil, because you challenge things that they wanted to not maybe see about themselves and acknowledge within themselves. But by being in a relationship with you, it's kind of like, come on, have some hope and faith and belief in love. Do whatever you need to do to get more balance within yourself. Work through your past fears and insecurities. Work through those relationships in your past that really didn't work out, or people in your life that you viewed as loving that were more immature or bossy or controlling. And in the Death card, to emotionally detach from those things, to work through them, to deal with the truth. Not everybody's the same. Just because we've dealt with people before and those people didn't turn out to be the loving or nurturing people that we thought they were going to be, doesn't mean everybody's that way. But they have to be willing to do that. And sometimes we move forward in relationships with people, and they are more aligned with wanting to stay in maybe the denial of the truth, that they are more in their earth sign energies of self, more kind of motivated and inspired by the world. They get in a relationship with someone that challenges them to do that work. But the truth sets us free. And as people start to work through some of those issues that manipulate them, their own fears, their own insecurities, their more worldly nature, because with free will, if we choose this, generally that would mean I can't choose that, right? And the Seven of Cups can be like, oh my gosh, and I don't know what's under the bowl, It typically, like maybe in a Seven of Cups card, one would have like a castle, one would have a crown. Oh, and I do think that looks like a dragon wing. Some have like a dragon, some have, we don't really know. And for some people, they still haven't worked through those issues, and then they might not have a desire yet to really work through those things. And we're emotionally complex human beings, is what Scorpio talks about. And some people can decide, I'm not ready for that. No, you can go. I'm going to still just make my life more about these things. And then, that's really difficult for us because we got in a relationship with someone and we can be attracted to someone, but we kind of see the truth that we got in a relationship with someone who chose not to free themselves from things that manipulate them. And then we have to do all this work within ourselves to love and believe in ourselves, to not stay in denial, to deal with the truth, that they were motivated and inspired to work together with me in this way. When they had the opportunity, they would have. And it's like, maybe at some future date they will, but until they do, I'm going to keep listening to my intuition. I'm going to keep looking to the future. I'm going to keep doing this work within myself to emotionally detach and move forward in truth and love, because that is the foundation I operate from. And I guess if they ever do that work within themselves, then maybe one day they'll communicate with me. But until they do, I'm not going to stay in the death card in non-life-giving energy and not moving forward in hope and faith and belief in my dreams, because my dreams can only come into reality with other people who are willing to work together with me in that way from that foundational principle. And if they're not doing that, I can always listen to my intuition, get out of my more worldly egoic nature, communicate my truth in love. The wands can talk about communication. And then I leave it up to them to decide what they're going to do. And in the meantime, I keep, then I don't maybe, I leave it up to them. And then I listen to my intuition and I keep moving forward. And if they keep not taking action in that way, then I believe the divine has another plan for my life. My dreams, again, can only come into reality with people who are on the same page as me. And the death card can talk about completing a cycle, having worked through some pain and heartbreak and things like that. And then, it's kind of like the video game of life. On every phase of life we go through, we had certain challenges and obstacles to overcome when we were 15. Then we kind of mastered those, and we went to the next phase of life, and we were on 18 years old, and we had things we had to learn and obstacles we had to overcome, and healing and growing and maturing ourselves. And then we went to age 21. At every stage, there are obstacles to overcome, because there's more. We have layers and layers of our shadowy, fearful, codependent, immature, self-indulgent, defensive nature, right? And that is a process of becoming, where you keep shedding old layers of yourself. And hopefully to get more and more clear the truth that it's being motivated and inspired by love, loving myself. Pisces is water sign energy. The Ace of Swords, offering truth and love to my own shadowy nature, is what the Tower can represent, our unstable nature. And to offer love and truth to my own unstable nature, to be inspired by love within myself, to detach from my more immature worldly nature, in not indulging it within myself or others, and instead aligning with my more hopeful believing nature and listening to my intuition. And if other people haven't worked through that confusion as I keep moving forward in my life, like I can always move forward in life, and I'm going to meet more people that are immature, prideful, bossy, controlling. Can I find them attractive? Yeah. But am I going to get in a relationship with them? No. I've learned you stay in the friend zone. Because I've already been there and done that. It doesn't work out. And as I do that, that is me completing a cycle so that I can get unstuck and have this new beginning. And that's when we do have this new beginning. We're not repeating past patterns. We're not getting in relationships with people who are repeating some past patterns of ways of living life that we've already been there and done that. And we don't want to live our life like that way or think that way anymore or view life that way anymore. We've kind of grown and healed and matured ourselves. We're ready to go to the next phase of life. And we get in relationships with people who are more just and fair and balanced at that next stage of life. Kind of like when we were 18 and 21, we didn't keep hanging out with 15-year-olds or people who acted like 15-year-olds because we had detached in the death card from that way of living life. And some people were our age and they hadn't. The same thing happens throughout our life. You can meet 45-year-olds and they're like bullies and backstabbers and petty and immature like they're in junior high. Am I going to repeat that pattern? No. And that's how you keep getting the justice you deserve. Being willing to deal with the truth, listen to your intuition. Shadowy energy within yourself and in the world is always going to try to stop you from getting the justice you deserve. Your own shadow nature wants to be in the driver's seat of your life. And you need to put it in the back seat. Be a good, loving mother to yourself and father and coach to yourself. And offer yourself love and encouragement. No, we've already done it your way, and that didn't work out. So now my more hopeful, believing, loving nature's in the driver's seat. And then there's going to be shadowy people in your life and in the world that try to either be hurtful or unkind or manipulative or bossy or controlling or immature. And you can be like, thank you for showing me the truth of who you are. I see it. And I'm going to keep moving on. I'm not going to keep investing more time and energy and effort into you than I have to. Might you be in my family or at my workplace? My neighbor? Sure. Can I get along with you? Yeah. Am I going to get more involved with you? No. And as we keep learning that lesson, it's just like the devil is heartbroken because shit, you passed that phase of life. And now you get to go to the next phase of life. And some of the people in your life that try to manipulate you or control you or tear you down or get you in negative energy, they failed. And you get to move on. And then those people are going to go try to find someone else to repeat this pattern because you weren't willing to emotionally indulge the devil. And they got to go find someone else because you've already seen the truth about who they are. And then those people will hide the truth about why things probably didn't work out with some of the more just, fair, authentic, loving people in their life. They won't probably want to detach from their ways of being, won't want to see the truth, because they emotionally are more inspired to either live more from their mind than their heart, be more about the world, more about themselves, don't want to deal with the truth, hide the fact that they're more immature and that they like to stay in denial of the truth. And they'll go invest in someone else, and they're going to go on a journey of learning, repeating a pattern. And they can keep doing that over and over and over until they ever are willing to deal with the truth and see this doesn't really move their life forward. It's the same thing, just different people, different jobs. But the same old issues are there, and they could always, either not seeing the truth of why they choose to do what they do, or why they're, and again, they can be drawn and attracted to certain people who, high vibe people try to encourage people to see the truth of what manipulates them to be more just and balanced within themselves and loving and align with their more loving nature. And if that didn't work, the devil's going to be coming into their life. It's like, oh, you didn't want to do love? Perfect. Come with me. And, it's trying to show them you took the wrong path. But if they're like, yeah, but I still don't want to listen to my intuition. I still don't want to get more balance within myself. I still want to make my life about this. It's like they can. They'll just probably stay kind of stuck and confused. And, the devil talks about things that we're sure are going to make us happy. But, just like we can drink things, eat things, get into gambling, get into wanting to keep our options open, indulging in a lot of things of the world, like, look at me, I'm living the dream. For some of those people, it's going to drag their life into hell. And they're going to have to learn lessons the hard way, just like some of the rest of us did. And until they're willing to see the truth that the way they're going about things isn't getting them what they want, but some people will keep living their life whatever way. And for some, it's just that, the truth is, I don't believe in a higher truth and justice. I think life is about the world, and the world tells us to make our life about these things. That's what I love. That's what drives and motivates me. That's what I'm going to invest in. And it's just staying in non-life-giving energy. Like if they had been a caveman or woman back in the day, and if everybody else was like them, they'd still be cave people today. Other people in Virgo energy, we've all been given our unique talent, skills, and interests, and our intuitive, creative, inspired nature. And it's like, you know what? I think we could do things a little different. I think maybe we, instead of peeing right outside of our cave or in our cave, I think maybe we could build an outhouse. And then maybe we could do eventually, and look at what we have in the world today. All the things that we have in the world, indoor plumbing, light bulbs, airplanes, cell phones, that was because people were given their unique talent, skills, and interest. They listened to their intuition. They were willing, even though, to listen to their intuition, to be in that hopeful, creative, inspired nature, to face their fears. And it changed the world, and it changed their life. That's what the death card and high vibe, it transforms your whole life and your whole world. If you're willing to know your worth and value, love yourself, stand up for your more hopeful, believing, loving nature, not let your shadow nature and the world and your ego and blah, 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 get you off track. And when you do get off track, you see the truth of it, you offer love and compassion to yourself and others so that you can move on and overcome it and move forward in life. What's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Virgo energy that they might not see coming? And for some of the people in your life who they harness their more world earth sign energies in a more worldly way, when they got in a relationship with you, they didn't realize you harnessed yours in a more hopeful, believing nature, which they maybe can't understand and they find it confusing. Just like loving people can find it confusing when other people are like, why do you try to manipulate people to get what you want? Why don't you just treat them in a just and fair and authentic and loving way? And it's like, no, I hide my truth. I hide my more authentic nature. I let my defensive nature, my ego nature run my life. Because I also view the Three of Swords as Libra energy, as the King of Swords, and the King of Swords in shadow can be a person's self-protective defensive nature, or I have to be practical and logical. If I do love, I get hurt. And if my truth is, I think it's more important to have these things of the world and have a certain status and image. They could think you live in fantasy land and you could think they live in fantasy land because they think it's more these things of the world that will make them happy. And you realize love is what makes it all worthwhile. But since they could have a fear of being more vulnerable or more authentic or doing love, we all rationalize and justify why we do what we do. And if they don't want to see why they make the choices they make and have the stance that they have, they're going to keep investing in that way of living life. I just think they're going to probably end up in a very kind of superficial and shallow life because the loving, more creative, inspired, loving people are going to be heartbroken staying in a relationship with them because they reject aligning with their more hopeful, creative, inspired nature and do live more from their mind than their heart and do make their life more about these reasons, you know? And so they're probably going to end up in relationships with other people who view life like they do also. And then they'll be confused and maybe a little heartbroken. Why did all these things I made my life about? I thought they were going to make me happy, and I'm just more unstable, confused, and heartbroken. It's like, because you didn't invest in the truth. You didn't go pursue jobs that were in alignment with your truth. You didn't get in friendships and relationships because of it being from love. It was more for these ulterior purposes. So what's coming up for the high vibe people they don't see coming? The Four of Pentacles, the Six of Wands, the Chariot, and the King of Pentacles. And the reason is because of the Eight of Cups. So the 8, the 9, and the 10 of Cups, like the moon, is Pisces energy. And Pisces energy, like Virgo energy, helps us transition out emotionally out of things. Again, Scorpio's fixed sign energy is kind of the emotional energy, I believe, that we tap into. We're in the middle of something, and we're putting in work and effort to make something work. But then when we see it's kind of not working out, then we tap into our Virgo Pisces energy to help us transition to emotionally detach, and we offer ourselves that cup of love. If there's people in our life who would maybe like to move forward with us, the Four of Pentacles can be that they want to hold on to us and move forward in a relationship with us, but we know that their truth is it's more because of the world and ego and image, and they might present themselves as an emotionally motivated, loving person, but you know their truth is it's more about the status, the ego, the image, to be in a relationship, maybe more out of fear, insecurity, or ego. And it's like, no, I want to be in a relationship with someone who has held back from indulging their more egoic, worldly nature, who's been inspired to get out of their more egoic nature, to get in the driver's seat of their own life from love, and who's seen the truth that it is about love, and who's willing, both high vibe Pisces and high vibe Virgo, and high vibe Capricorn, and high vibe Cancer, and high vibe Leo, is about freeing yourself from being more about yourself and these things of the world, to live a more balanced, self-aware, self-insightful, emotionally mature, inspired by truth and love and justice and fairness. Being more independent in the world. Independent from your shadowy nature, independent from your more worldly, egoic nature, independent of other people in your life that might try to manipulate and control you. It's like, I'm my own individual. I have my own dreams. I have my own things that I find emotionally fulfilling. And I can have other people in my life that I can love. But I respect you as an individual for you to go live your life the way you want. Can I be a loving and encouraging person in your life? Yes. But I also equally want to be respected as my own individual who has my own dreams and aspirations that could be different than yours, and things and people I like to go invest my time, energy, and effort into, and to be respected as I am my own individual to go live my own life. And I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I'm taking action in truth and love, treating other people the way I like to be treated. And there's just some people who don't like that because you're moving forward in a way that's different than how they live their life. And they let these things manipulate them and make these things their life about these certain things. And then it kind of causes them mental conflict about, well, gee, why am I living my life the way I'm living my life? They seem to be going doing that. Why am I not going and doing that? And that's, again, why people can have friends or family members that try to manipulate and control them or tempt them to keep living their life the way they live it, because then they don't have to deal with their own mental conflict about why they live their life the way they do. And it's like, well, that's for you to deal with. I'm going to go live my authentic life. And you work on your stuff. That's your own individual thing. But to try to hurt me or confuse me or use the love that I have for you to manipulate and control me, that's not just and fair. I'm offering you truth and love to move forward with me if you want to in this way. But that could mean then those people have to deal with these issues within themselves that manipulate them. And sometimes some of those people aren't willing to do that. And you can see the truth of it. In the Four of Pentacles, you could have kind of been waiting. But there comes a time I can't keep waiting for other people to be illuminated to the truth because you may never. And so my intuition is telling me to keep moving forward, investing more of my time, energy, and effort into the people in my life who do work with me in that way. And if at some future point in time any of these other people come towards me, we'll see if they really have been enlightened to the truth, or just because that didn't work out the way they wanted, now they want to move forward, kind of come back and indulge in a relationship with me the way they did before. It's like, no. I've kind of seen the truth of you. And unless you're willing to tell me the truth, and I can see the truth that you are being in high vibe Leo more authentic, that you are more authentic and loving and more independent and more mature, then I'm going to keep moving on. I can't go back to living my life in this old way. So what's coming up for people? And then I think as you move forward in that energy and people see you moving forward, being authentic and balanced and inspired and mature, and you're not taking action that's kind of more immature or prideful or lustful or greedy or whatever, there's going to be other people that are going to want to be in relationships and friendships with you because they also know people who aren't doing that. They know they could invest in those people. Some of them will choose to do it, and other people are like, nope, I'm going to align with these people and work with these people. I don't want to keep repeating that old pattern either. Because it's kind of the illusion of love, but it's not really inspired by love, but everybody stays in denial that they might do it more out of fear, insecurity, or codependency or something like that, or because being tempted by these things of the world. And everybody's got to make their own decisions of when they're ready to do that. It's just that some people never will. So the high vibe people are moving on, looking very victorious, very successful, very stable, very grounded, very abundant in a lot of different ways, very balanced. And there's always going to be other people who want to be the next person to indulge in a relationship with you. But now you've learned to listen to your intuition. And if your intuition tells you, no, these people kind of have these illusions about what it means to be in relationships, and they could act in these more shadowy kind of ways, like, nope, wish you peace, I'm moving on, to go invest in the people who don't do that. What's coming up for people to harness a more worldly, shadowy Virgo energy that they might not see coming up? The Queen of Wands and the King of Wands. Why? Because of the Ace of Wands. So, we can all be more motivated and inspired by these things of the world. The Queen of Wands I view as Leo energy. The King of Wands is Aries energy. And the Ace of Wands represents also with Sagittarius energy. In our fire sign energy, for the first 30, 40 years of our life, we're probably pretty fired up about the world and all these things we want to manifest and all these things that will make us happy, and kind of can be a little more influenced by our ego and all those things and these things we want to manifest. And we could manifest some of those things with people, but eventually some high vibe people kind of get inspired, that I think there's more to life than just me or these things of the world. And I'm ready to move forward not making those things as important in my life. Like, just like people could have a job that had a lot of status and image and money and materialism to it. And then it's like, kind of hated this job, you know? And now maybe that I do have enough stability and security, I'm going to go do what I would really like to do. You know, and that could be something where I don't make much money at all. But I'm happy. I'm working with people who are more inspired and authentic and loving and warm. And I think when some people are more still caught up in their fire sign energy and their worldly nature, they're going to have some more high vibrational people in their life who would like to be in a relationship with them, a king and queen of wands or a counterpart. But if the other people are like, no, I don't want to do love. No, I want to stay in denial of love. No, you should stay in a relationship with me. I know you love me. I know you don't want to leave. That can kind of be the devil. That I think because you love me, you'll keep doing it this way. And the high vibe people in their life are like, this is never going to, in high vibe Scorpio, become a more deep, meaningful relationship. Because that's not the truth of who they are. And that's when, in the Eight of Cups, people walk away from the Seven of Cups, which is feeling it is, can there be love there? But it just stays more emotionally shallow and superficial. Because people aren't willing to be more authentically themselves, inspired by love. Because they're more invested in their egoic nature or being more about themselves or their self-protective nature, or it really wasn't love anyway. It was more for these things of the world and the status and the ego and the image. And they're going to have some high vibe people like offer them love one more time. Will you move forward with me in this way? And if those people repeat an old pattern, what? No. And do whatever, they're going to leave. And some people have already done that. Some people are doing it. And eventually, they'll end up in a relationship with someone who's motivated and inspired by the same things they are, which is just and fair. But sometimes shadowy people, they don't want to align with their more loving nature, but they want to be in relationships with loving, nurturing people. And they hope the loving people in their life will just stay in denial of the truth that they're in a relationship with someone who is kind of in shadowy fire sign energy of self, kind of indulging themselves in a relationship with someone who is loving and nurturing and supportive and encouraging, but that's really not the truth of who they are. But they could use their looks or their charm or their status or their image or their social clout or their sexuality or whatever, or the fact that you love them, to manipulate you, to keep you in a relationship. But it maybe never gets more just and fair and balanced. Because a shadowy relationship can be a more transactional relationship, a more mismatched relationship. And they think it's just and fair. And until the high vibe people in their life are like, this isn't just and fair. I'm not in a relationship with someone else who's inspired by love. And though it's difficult and it's challenging, I'm not willing to stay in a more shadowy relationship, more out of my ego and my fear and having my loving nature manipulated, or because of more of my ego. I want to go be free to live my more authentic life with people who are more on the same page as me. And so then, the more shadowy people might end up in a relationship with someone who's more like themselves, which would be just and fair. They might not like it because now they're in a relationship with someone else who's also not aligned with their more loving nature, who also might be inspired. Shadowy Scorpio, being fixed sign energy, can be where they just want to, they have a way of viewing life and living life that they enjoy. And they have their pattern and a way of viewing life, and they want to do life like that. And the other person has their idea of the way they like to live life, and they want to do life like that. And it can be two people who they're just not willing to kind of compromise and work together more cooperatively, to both be willing to kind of get out of their ego, to work more cooperatively with each other and get out of it being more about them, or it has to be this way, or you're supposed to indulge me, or something. And they might end up feeling stuck and confused in a relationship when it seems in the devil to have all those things that they wanted, but it's dead. It looks like love, it quacks like love, but it's like, how would I end up repeating the same pattern all over again? And I'm emotionally confused. I feel stuck. I have all these things that I thought were going to be the answer to my maybe feeling heartbroken or unstable or unworthy or whatever. I thought all these things were going to be the answer to it, or living my life like this, or whatever I indulged in. And those things weren't the answer, and that's because they're not willing to see the truth that it's love is the answer. It's not all these things of the world, or being just about themselves, or it being all about them, or having a certain status or image in the world. How many times do we read articles about famous people who, why would they become, indulge themselves so much in some things that kind of destroy their life? But they keep thinking, no, that's it. That's living the dream. I feel powerful. I feel important. I'm sure if I do more of it, it'll make me happy. And it can be completely indulging themselves in, as we've heard in the paper lately, debauchery. Feeling like they're God. I suppose that could be really shadowy energy. And I think they're going to find out they can't hide the truth of who they are forever. Eventually, the truth is revealed because love wins. And then they'll feel stuck and confused how people were illuminated to the truth. And sometimes people can just be illuminated to the truth about kind of what drives other people by seeing how other people live their life. And it's like, well, you don't seem to be doing that. I don't think what you're doing is motivated and inspired by love. I think you're kind of more inspired by lust or greed or pride or ego or yourself. And that alone could be a tower moment. Because if some people were a little full of themselves and thought, I can hide the truth, I can manipulate the truth, I can confuse people about the truth of who I am, just by the fact of how other people move on from them and live their life, and then the choices they keep choosing to make, it kind of reveals the truth of what drives and motivates them. And they maybe never wanted the truth revealed. And then, it's just like anybody that we've kind of read about in the papers, that when the truth is revealed, well, then they're heartbroken. They weren't heartbroken when they were doing it, but when the truth is revealed and people could maybe no longer be willing to indulge them, and other people grow up, get more balanced, move forward in life, and then they realize, wow, I was so caught up in myself, or being about me, or being about these things. I had that opportunity to manifest that, and I didn't. And then it can just be being confused of why it didn't work out the way they thought. So there you go, Virgo. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.